Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Pretty Healthy Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Brandi Moore, and today I have a very special guest with me. I have Felicia Romero. Hello.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you. So Felicia is an 8-time fitness cover model, former reality TV star, and she's currently the owner of a virtual wellness business where she both coaches kind of health and wellness entrepreneurs, as well as does fitness coaching for women, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. Just really empowering.
She's the host of the Diet Dropout podcast, which is a fresh take on fitness. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. It's always nice talking to you.
So excited to be here. And I am just loving your podcast. I love everything about it. And I've subscribed. I've been listening. I've left reviews. If you're listening to this right now, takes like 2 seconds to go leave a review. So make sure you do. I've been loving it so much.
Yay. That makes me really happy, especially coming from a vet like yourself.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I love the podcast space because I like to talk. I just like to get everything out and just to rather have like the speaking platform versus like writing. And obviously you have the social media and all of the captions and such, but I just enjoy talking. So it's a great platform for that.
Yeah, same. My husband thought that when I started the podcast, I would talk less to him. And I was like, do you not know me? Endless amounts of words.
Right. Absolutely. I'll send my fiance like podcast episodes. I'm like, listen to this episode. Like, did you listen to the episode today? He's like, babe, I don't really care about women's menopause. Like, so yeah, it's pretty funny, but yeah, it's so fun and I do enjoy it. I'm glad your husband enjoys it too.
Yes, he does. Okay. So much that I want to talk to you about today. I think the best place to start is if you could share kind of your journey, your wellness journey to where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll keep it short because I have a lot of different facets of my story that can go down a lot of different roads. I often feel like I'm a kind of an old soul just because I experienced different things in my life that have led me down different paths. But, if we were just speaking about, my health and my fitness journey, I, went to Arizona State. I was studying law actually. And I remember, I was a junior and I played softball at Arizona State. I loved sports. I loved athletics and all of those things. And I was studying law at the time. And I remember taking my LSAT, not totally loving that profession and like wanting to go down that road. I was also an intern at the House of Representatives. And so kind of getting an insight into politics and law, and it just didn't light me up. And during that time in college is when I actually started training people. I got certified NASM, and I did that because it was easy to like create my schedule and train clients at the same time. So I was like, you know what, this is just a natural thing for me because I love helping people. But during that time is when I really found my true passion for helping people. And I continued with that. And so I had this bridge in the road, and maybe your listeners, can relate when you like have a certain thing planned for your life and you don't necessarily follow that plan. You do something else because, you feel completely called in the other direction, not even knowing where it's going to take you, but you just know that you need to go that route. And that was me in fitness. So, education was really important in my family. I was the first to graduate with a degree and a master's degree in my family. So, I ended up continuing education, getting my master's. I remember spending a whole summer having to do all of the prerequisites because my degree was political science. So then now I'm going to exercise and wellness. So it was like additional schooling on top of that, like each summer. So a lot of schooling, but I don't regret it at all. I loved it and have my master's in exercise and wellness. And that's really just started the road for me in terms of years of fitness. Now I've been in fitness now for, over 15 years. Actually, I was writing a bio recently and I was like, oh my gosh, 17 years in fitness from, in my early 20s to opening up my first gym at like 24, which I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew that I needed to do this and continuing that path of opening up gyms. So over the span of about 12 years, I owned 3 gyms during that time and sold my last gym in 2017 to fully go and integrate in the online world and online space, mainly because I wanted freedom, time freedom, and I also wanted more financial freedom because owning brick and mortars, you have a huge overhead that you must pay each and every month. So I just got overwhelmed, but also I also am a firm believer that is absolutely okay to pivot in your life when you feel like you need a change. And then throughout that period, I got involved in competing. And I know we're going to talk about that a little bit today as well, but I started competing. And for those that may not know, competition world, I was an IFBB figure pro. And what that is, think of like a beauty pageant with muscle. And I was at the top of my game at what I did. I was an IFBB figure pro. So for those that may not know, think of like Arnold Schwarzenegger and, the Olympia. That is what I competed in each and every year. And that awarded me a lot of amazing opportunities. I got to travel the world and compete. It opened up the doors to fitness cover model. I'm an 8-time fitness cover model, including Muscle and Fitness, Hers, Oxygen, Flex Magazine, allowed me to travel and allowed, a lot of awesome opportunities. But with those years of just competing takes a toll on your physical health because your sole focus is aesthetics and physical. And it took a huge toll on my mental health, always having to be perfect and stay on with the diet, quote unquote diet in this extreme lifestyle. And, 10 years of that can take a huge toll. So by the end of my competing career, which was 2012, I was left with, just a lot of issues, hormonal issues, metabolic issues, thyroid issues I know we're going to talk about thyroid today as well, with just extreme stress, because extreme in any sense can be detrimental to your health, but that also led to a lot of disordered mental issues as well. And so since 2012, I would say up until, a couple years ago, I would say 2012 to 2016, 17, I was dedicated to just healing myself, my mental health and my physical health, and improving my relationship with food in my body. And that's really been my mission since 2017, is just a whole new light on the word wellness and health. Because for many years, it was, you look at someone's physical, the way they look, and you assume they're healthy if they look a certain way. Oh, they got the 6-pack, or they got this, or they got that. And I am the first to tell you that that has nothing to do with your health, especially physical and mental. And so I was a prime example of that. Anyone looked at me from the outside would think, oh, Felicia's super healthy and in great shape and just has a good, handle on things, when inside I was dealing with body dysmorphia. I was dealing with a lot of disordered eating, anxiety, depression, which led to obviously a lot of health issues as well. So so that's kind of my journey in fitness in a nutshell. There's a lot of different ways we can go with that. But overall, I think for me, life is a journey. And I think you have to be able to go through those things in life to appreciate where we are now. And I absolutely will never take my health for granted again. And I treat it and I look at it so much differently than I did, 10 years ago.
I feel like our society has also maybe changed the perspective on health, or at least started that conversation, because growing up, to me, it was like, well, I'm skinny. Mm-hmm. So I don't need to move and I can eat whatever I want because I'm thin. And I think we're getting to a point where we now realize like thin or fit doesn't equal health, and that they are two separate things, and that you do have to address them both. And it's not enough to look a certain way, because you could look that way and still be dealing with, thyroid issues, diabetes, hypertension. And just because you like how you look in a bikini doesn't mean that there's not work we can do on your health.
Absolutely. And there's probably some other underlining things going on too. Now, I don't want to, say that all women are in this category, but I know for me that, yes, you have, you can look at someone physically and think, okay, they might be healthy because they're thin or they have a 6-pack or whatever, but you also don't know what's going on in their mind. Like if you are not enjoying your life because you are terrified of social outings and eating food, that is no way to live. If you literally eat a cookie and then go, and I'm speaking from personal experience, eat a cookie and then go to the gym to do an hour of cardio because of that cookie, because you feel like you need to punish yourself for doing that. Or if you are counting the amount of calories that you've eaten through the day and only allot yourself this, and it made social outings so difficult and family functions so difficult, that is no way to live, right? So you have the physical implications with health and all of that, but gosh, the mental implications, I will tell you, thinking about all of those things took up so much mental capacity, so that when I healed from that, I had so much like mental room left for like creating, like, doing passion projects of mine, thinking about other things, my business and creating and helping women. And so, it was like twofold with the changes that I was able to like experience when I healed that part of myself.
Yeah. I feel like the relationship with food again, doesn't get addressed because it doesn't play a role in people's minds, because it's like, oh, well, you're just on a diet, right? And we know from lots of science for lots of years that yo-yo dieting is detrimental to health in the long term. And again, it might make you thin in the short term, but that increase in size, decrease in size, increase in size, decrease in size really messes with your metabolism. And I think that there is, I mean, I have my own past with what I would call disordered eating, right? Never saw anyone, never got diagnosed. But I remember in college, I had gained weight. Most people do, right? You're doing a lot of things you weren't doing. I was drinking, I was eating poorly, and I wasn't sleeping well. My stress was out of control, right? So like all the usual things. Gained weight, and then my mom tried to point it out, and I was like, how dare you? And she was coming from a place of love, just like, hey, I'm noticing some things you might want to check in. Yeah. And when I finally realized it, I did the most unhealthy thing you could do to lose weight. I started doing 2-a-days at the gym, and I would literally eat like a salad, I'm going to have like these 5 carrots, and then I'm going to eat later, because I'd eat with my mom and my family. So like, obviously it didn't look like anything was off. But I would go to the gym morning for at least an hour, if not more, on the elliptical or on the treadmill, just trying to burn as much as I could. And then I did the same thing at night, and I might have slimmed down, but it wasn't the physique I necessarily wanted. And it wasn't in a healthy way. And I was doing more harm in that moment than good. And what's weird is that conversation resonates with so many women who feel that they have to do these extremes to look a certain way or to fit a certain size. And you just don't have to.
Yeah. I mean, look at what we're being inundated each and every day, right? It's like these images of what, beauty should be. And I do feel like the beauty standards are absolutely starting to change and shift with the body and self-love movements and things like that. But even in our time when we were young, like, there was a lot of that. And that was definitely my mindset as well. Like, the thinner, the better. Right. Yeah. And so that is what I grew up with. And so when that is ingrained in your subconscious, and, a lot of the women I work with now are usually over 35 that have experienced exactly what we've experienced in terms of like the years of yo-yo dieting. And now their metabolism is just screwed up. Right. Yes. Like, I have personally myself have gained 40 plus pounds 2 times in my life at a very drastic measures. And so, that can do a lot to your mind when you define yourself by your physical look, and you're defining yourself by what you see on social media, or comparing yourself to your mom friend who maybe lost the baby weight quickly. And now you're like, why can't I, and it's really easy to get sucked into that, and that not make us feel very good.
I feel like the baby weight is so hard too, because you just brought this life into the world. Right when I was pregnant with my first is when I feel like everyone started talking about the snapback, like how quick, like Tiana Taylor, right, had abs like 2 weeks after she gave birth. But she was really fit before, right? And might have kept up some of those habits during pregnancy. So to compare yourself to what you see in the media, in whether that be social media or conventional, is unrealistic, because you don't know what they did, surgeries or trainers or extreme dieting to get that look. And I very much compared myself to, well, Kim K was snatched right afterwards.
Right. I know. Well, I want to get into the habit, Dr. Moore, and really like normalizing that bodies change, right? Yes. We get older, our bodies change. So for us to, and I'm guilty of this, like, I just want to be back to what I was when I was competing, and I'm like, God, I remember what I was doing when I was at that weight. Like, that is so unsustainable. And it's like, it's so easy to like, oh, I see this picture of me when I was, 21, and I would love to get back to this. But the thing is, our bodies are meant to change, right? Yeah. And they're meant to grow, and our bones grow and things like that. And so that's where our measures of health and our measures of success and goals have to, be more than the scale and be more than the size of your jeans. Right. And so there's so much more to that. Yeah.
Looking back at pictures brings up a interesting thing for me, because I had that, like, looking back and being like, oh, I wish I could be her. But what I also felt was bad for her. Like, I was so mean to her. I always thought she could lose at least 5 pounds. I'm 20 pounds almost heavier than I was when I gave birth the first time. And I love my body more now than I did then. And I look back and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I was so mean to you. because you look great. I love your body.
Oh, I love that. That is such a great awareness. And let me tell you, and this is often I hear from a lot of women, and this comes from personal experience as well. I remember being on the Olympia stage. My body fat was probably extremely low, 116 pounds. And I remember feeling not good enough. Right. And then I remember being 40 pounds heavier than that, just wishing that I could just feel normal and be back to whatever my normal weight wants to be at. And so the lesson there is like, it's never enough, right? It's like, you get there. And that's why, I ask my clients, or I ask women, even the women that show up in my DMs, like, yeah, you want to lose 10 pounds, but let's evaluate that. Like, what is that 10 pounds going to bring you? Like, what is your main motivator? Because it has to be more than just the physical, right? And so, and I will tell you, you get to that place. It's kind of like, when I have X, then I'll be happy. When I have the husband, then I'll be, I'll feel complete, and I will be able to like do the things that I want to do. When I have this certain amount of money in my bank account, I'll be, X, Y, Z. And it's like, no, it's never enough. It's never enough. I get it in business, and I get it with my health. And it's like, we have to like come to that, like the present and the gratitudes now, because it'll make us appreciate the journey so much more. Cause it really is about the journey. It's not about the outcome of where you're going. It's the in-between stuff, because we're so worried about that outcome. It's like, enjoy that in present and enjoy the journey now.
Yeah. I've definitely changed. I've had to, obviously that was really unhealthy, but changing my perspective on the other ways that working out and eating healthy serve me. And I have that conversation with patients as well, just being like, okay, you're not seeing the scale move. Are you noticing any change in how your clothes fit? How do you feel? How's your stress? How's your energy? How's your mood? Like, let's focus on the other benefits and not just that number on the scale, because the number on the scale means nothing. You can have, especially like BMI, there are certain markers, right? If we look, there are certain things where it's like, okay, based on your body composition more, right? Muscle to fat ratio, you're putting yourself at risk for heart disease and diabetes and all these other things.
Yeah.
But you can have a bodybuilder that has the same exact BMI as someone who's overweight. And the way I'm going to treat that conversation is different, because your fat to muscle ratio is completely opposite. So using the BMI as a general screening, and then also, what are you eating? How are you sleeping? Are you drinking enough water? Are you managing your stress? Trying to focus on health and not size really does make a difference. And I post baby, I'm like, oh, my tummy is squishier than it was. I never had that in my life. But being like, anytime those negative thoughts come in, to be like, you know what? This body gave me two healthy, like carried two pregnancies to term, and I was able to deliver them. This body allows me to run and play with my kids. This body allows me to be in the present moment, to be at the playground, to do those things, right? To swim with them. And so, no, my kid doesn't care how I look in a bathing suit. So why would I let that stop me from enjoying those day-to-day moments with them? All because I'm not a size that I've defined as the right size, which has changed, me being like, oh, 120. 120 is the number. Why? Why is 120 the number?
Just ask yourself that. Like, just be aware of that. And I will say too, to top the little, my kids don't care what I look like in a swimsuit. They just want me to go swimming with them. Same thing with your husbands, ladies. Like, your husbands don't care. They see this body and they're like, yes, this is beautiful, right? They don't care. They just they know that they get to like sleep with you at night, right? So I think we put so much pressure on ourselves as women. And the thing is, like, the people that really matter just love us for us and just want us to be present and be there. Right. So, so much, and to be,
and to be healthy. So it's one thing if you are living unhealthy lifestyle and you're causing a lot of inflammation and the organ damage and hormonal imbalances, and you feel tanked, energy's down, like you do have to address those things, but you don't have to hate yourself while you do it.
Yeah. Well, that just reminds me, and I think that you're on board with this too. And I think we talked about this even on my podcast, but anti-diet, but pro-health.
Yes.
And there's that difference. Like, for me, like, yes, I'm absolutely about feeling good, and I know certain foods, I don't demonize food. I don't hold foods on a pedestal, but I tend to, gravitate towards foods that make me feel good. And those foods tend to be on the healthier spectrum, the things that do lower your inflammation and do, help with gut health and help you focus and feel better. And so, it's just finding that sweet spot for you. There's there's no right or, like I even hesitate to post like what I eat in a day online because I mean, what's the point of that? Like what works for me may not work for you, know? And so I don't want someone to see that and think like, oh, I got to eat just like this to look like Felicia. And it's like, that could be really detrimental for someone, right? Especially if they don't enjoy the foods that I'm eating and they think that they got to eat this certain food because it's going to make them look a certain way. So
yeah, I had a conversation a few weeks ago with a registered dietitian who does intuitive eating. And it was really good. That episode hasn't come out yet, but it was the focus on like, we think of intuitive eating, like eat whatever you want, whenever you want. And to an extent that's true. But the caveat to that is you need to be paying attention to how it makes you feel mentally, physically, emotionally, and take in that present moment. So I want a pack of cookies. I'm going to eat a pack of cookies as I'm eating it. Why am I eating this? Am I hungry? Am I bored? Am I sad? Am I angry? Like, am I suppressing something else? After 9 times out of 10, you're going to feel like crap. Very rarely do I think that anyone eats a pack of cookies and feels awesome. During, you're getting that serotonin hit, but post, stomach ache, tired, right? Energy spiking and all this other stuff, paying attention to that and then saying, okay, that pack of cookies satisfied my emotional health, but physically I feel ill now. And I don't like how that makes me feel. So next time I'm going to have 2 cookies and see if I feel better. And then learning how to manage that, because most of the time you feel lighter and you have more energy and your mood's better when you are eating healthier foods that fuel you and not just fun foods. You're eating a combination. But if you go to a kid's party, like eat the cake, girl.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't beat yourself up. And I think, the first, like, I don't want to say rule, but if you are wanting to adopt a little bit more into that intuitive eating, which I'm sure you covered on that episode, but like one of the things that I practice, and that's really helped me in terms of being aware, because we live in a very distracted place most of the time. And so like eating on the go and, eating in your car and rushed, with the kids to this over here and eating. So if you can just slow down at your meals, maybe your major meals, like your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and especially, your lunch and dinner, if you can just sit down with those meals, no distractions, no phones, and truly just taste the meal, take your time to eat that meal. How is this making me feel? And am I full? Am I satisfied? Could I take another bite? Because sometimes when we're in that distracted state and we just eat what we have in front of us, oftentimes we may eat too much and you don't even realize it until you're done with it. You're like, oh, I probably, could have, stopped halfway through. And so that's really where that mindfulness comes in. And I know that word's thrown around a lot, but it truly is a principle within that intuitive lifestyle that really helps. And that helps me tremendously.
Also, piggybacking that, it's the taste of the food. There are plenty of times where in my mind, I'm like, oh, this burger is going to be so good. And I'm pre-tasting it. And then I bite into the burger and I'm like, the first bite was good. The second bite was okay. The third bite, I'm just like, why did I want this again? And then honoring that feeling, being like, okay, well, I don't have to eat this whole burger. I'm not even enjoying it. So why would I sit here and continue on? I'm going to eat something that makes me feel good instead.
Oh, I love that. And can I just remind you, like, and I'm sure you might have experienced this, but like, I can think back in like my competition days when I was so restrictive. I wanted, the pancakes. I wanted like the heavy carb meals because I ate a very low carb diet. And I will tell you, when I was on my road to healing and, I just really exposed myself to these things, when we stop holding them on a pedestal and we stop really attaching any sort of like moral attachment to this food, it loses its luster, right? So like, I don't diet. I eat whatever I want, but I'm not eating pizza every day. Again, not to say pizza's bad by any means, but again, like, I don't see it as this like taboo food, and I don't hold it on a pedestal where I'm like, oh, that's the only food I want. Now I'm craving this food. Like, I don't really have any cravings, to be honest, anymore in that sense, because I don't restrict food and I expose myself to all food. So it sort of just loses its luster. Like you said, if I want a piece of cake, I have it at a kid's party, but if I don't have it as well. You know what I mean? So you're able to make those decisions from a very like aligned place.
You always want the forbidden fruit.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's like right when people go on a diet, you are like, oh, I'm going to eat all the foods that I think I'm going to miss.
Yes.
And so you binge right before, and then you start your diet. And once you're off of your diet, now those foods are on, like you can have them again. And so oftentimes you'll binge those, hence the yo-yo. Then you gain all the way back and then some. But when you remove the restriction, it'd be like, teenage girl, you can't talk to this boy. And the girl's like, I just love him. I want to talk to him all the time. He's my everything. And it's like, had you not necessarily made the restriction, she would have realized that he was not the best fit for her.
Oh yeah.
But now like the attraction is just so big. But yeah, I read the intuitive eating books and like started doing some of the courses and stuff, and definitely found that I was removing the food, the power that the food had over me. Where it was, okay, if I'm out and I want cake, I'll eat cake. If I'm looking at the menu and I'm like, well, the salad is the better choice, but I really want the pizza.
Yeah.
I will get the pizza and maybe a side salad, if not the whole salad, because what will tend to happen is if I don't get the pizza now, that thought doesn't go away. So then I'm just I'm going to eat the salad, and then I'm going to get home and I'm going to eat some chips and I'm going to eat some cookies. And I'm going to keep eating because I'm looking to be satisfied, not just having my hunger satisfied, but also just my palate. And I talked with, her name's Claire Tuning. I talked with her about the same thing, where she was like, it's a balance of satisfaction on both ends. So it's not enough to be full, right? You should listen to your hunger and fullness cues, but you also need to enjoy the food. And so I will eat a lot less of the pizza the first time around if I just have the pizza. If I'm just like, okay, because then after a slice or two, I'm like, all right, that was good. I'm kind of full. Let me eat some vegetables and like keep it moving. Whereas if I ignore that and I do everything else, I'll wind up eating the whole kitchen because I'm looking for the pizza.
Yeah. Oh, you hit it on the head, and it's satisfied. And if you can find those markers for you that help with the satiety level of your food, that will help you. And I call those, for me, I call those either, intermittent sampling, or I call it basically like my non-negotiables. So like the old Felicia, I would have a salad, but it was like the most plain salad with olive oil, like not satisfying. But now, I love that I get to add greens in, but hey, I'm going to add a little bit of, like a couple tablespoons of cheese and some croutons, because I know that crunch and a little bit of that creaminess is going to help with my satiety levels. And that's not going to make or break my diet. You know what I mean? That's not going to make or break my lifestyle. It's not going to make or break your day. So if you can just, find that for you, those non-negotiables with your food to make the satisfaction a little bit better, it's just going to please the palate. And it's going to also remind you that you're not on a diet. This is a lifestyle, and we get to choose, how we want to live it.
And I think that's the thing. It's that shift from diet to lifestyle, and realizing that the lifestyle never ends. So if you have what people would see on a diet as like screw up. Like I have patients who, if in the middle, they're doing really good, in the middle of the week, they'll have something bad. And then the entire week is ruined. Now I'm just going to eat the whole pantry and I'll restart again on Monday. And I'm like, no, this is a lifestyle. So who cares? You had cake for, after dinner. The next meal you sit down, eat more mindfully and say, okay, I had the cake. That was really good, but I kind of want to eat some veggies and some chicken or pasta or brown rice or whatever. Listen to those cues. And it's not every meal. Every time you sit down is a choice for you to make a better choice. It's a time for you to make that better choice instead of I'll restart again on Monday. But it's definitely the lifestyle.
Oh yeah. And that's the difference I see with like diet adopts the all in or all out mentality. Whereas lifestyle, hey, you make the choice, you get, you make better choices on your next time. We don't beat ourselves up over it. So I see the difference between that. And a lot of people live in that diet all in or all out mentality, right?
Yeah.
And that can screw us up so much more than just having the cookie, moving on with your life versus having the cookie. Oh, I screwed up. I'm just going to eat what I want the rest of the day, which then turns into the weekend, which then starts again on Monday. And that is what screws us up. It's not the cookie. It's not the cookie at all. Yeah. It's this extreme all in or all out, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. I feel like we could talk about this forever.
I know. This is such a great topic. I think because we have so much, personally, we have so much experience in it, being women and living through that, but also with the people that we help. So
yeah. Okay. So I want to talk to you about your Fit to Fat to Fit experience. So for those who don't know, it's a show that premieres, is it still on? Do you know?
Season 2, nope, it was season 2 aired. I don't know if there's going to be a third season.
Okay.
There may be. I follow the creator, Drew Manning, who was the creator of Fit to Fat to Fit. But yeah, it was on season 2 and it aired on Lifetime in 2019.
Okay. So this is a show where a trainer, the idea is that trainers have never gained weight, right? They've never been fat. So they don't know what the experience is like to lose a bunch of weight. And so the trainer gains weight and then loses weight with their client. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience? I feel like it's just so unique.
It's very unique. When the producers first approached me with this concept, I was like, oh no, like intentionally gain weight. I don't think I can do that. I had already like healed myself. Like I had gone through years of like counseling with some of the body dysmorphia. I got to a really good place, and I was just, I had just opened up my third gym at that time. And I was like, oh, I don't know about this. And I think I turned it down the first time, and they actually came back to me, I want to say maybe about a month later, and said, hey, the concept of the show is changing a little bit, because the first season it was trainers and just like random clients, like people that they would pair together. So there was really no real connection there. So what they found was, the clients would lose weight, but sometimes they would just kind of fall off because there was no real connection with the trainer or client. Right. And so with this season, it was actually, someone that was very close to you was going to be the client. And that person that was close to me ended up being my younger sister, who was at the time about 100 pounds overweight. And when they proposed that concept to me, I was left with this like, man, this would be an awesome experience for both of us. Yeah. And, she's asked for my help before, only to, again, you never listen to your family, right?
So true.
And so like, she was never able to like get to a good place. And I saw her quality of life declining. And I saw it was because of her habits, and me as her sister, I would never judge her. And it's hard to go into someone's lifestyle and say, you need to change this and you need to do that. So I just was hands off and always just would let her come to me if she ever wanted any help. But man, we get this opportunity to be on a reality show and I get to help her lose weight, and I gain it intentionally first, and then we lose it together. This sounds like a cool opportunity. So we said yes. And that started the journey. It was an 8-month commitment to filming.
Oh, wow.
And so, we got to stay, in our hometown. So there was 2 trainers here in Arizona, and they picked 2 trainers out or maybe 4. I think it was 6 total trainers. 2 here in Arizona and then 4 out in California. And it was 8 months. So they moved a film crew here for us who just lived down the street from where we were. And we started. And so basically the concept of the show was 8-month commitment. And the first 4 months was spent me intentionally gaining weight. Now, the caveat to this was I literally had to adopt all of the habits of my sister. And so if we were just to look at statistics right now, I think the latest statistic as of like maybe late 2020, I think it's like 22% of Americans actually exercise as part of their routine. And that's very low, right? So my sister is part of the, 88% of Americans that does not have fitness as part of their life or wellness or movement. And so like, I was, adopting all of those habits. Also, she worked a desk job. She sat all day. She eats fast food, at least once every day, almost every day, sometimes twice a day. So I had to adopt all those habits, and I had to intentionally put on, I believe it was 40% of my body weight, like 40% increase based on my body weight. Yeah. And that for me was supposed to be about 45, 50 pounds I was supposed to gain. I actually ended up gaining like 30, a little over 30, because it was actually really tough to gain in that amount of time. Like you're talking pure gluttony. Yeah. And it's really hard to like, a weekend is fun, right? But then like you keep going and then it gets really, really hard. Yeah. And the weigh-ins, I was always so afraid because my body was not gaining weight as quickly as the producers would want. And so like, there was a lot of pressure and, all of that. Again, it's a reality show, but yeah, ended up, I put on a lot of body fat. My stomach completely changed. My lower half changed. You could see it in my face, my arms, mainly my stomach is where I put on most of my weight. I'm short torsoed, so I tend to put more on in my stomach. And it just looked like I was, maybe 5 or 6 months pregnant by the time we were done, with that. And then halfway through, we get the green light, we get to lose weight. Now, during that time, my sister is actively trying to lose weight from the start. Okay. So she gets 8 months to lose the weight, whereas the last 4 months, we lose it together. That means we work out together. I give her a meal plan. We're doing all the things together. And then we have the finale weigh-in, and she ended up losing almost 80 pounds.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And she's completely changed because of it. Like, if anything, and I can talk a lot about the experience because I still get to this day, I get like love, but I also get hate, like I have the trolls and I have the negative, but I also have a lot of the positive because I'll go into detail some of the things that happened in some of the episodes. But for my sister, she lost 80 pounds and she now, her and her boyfriend, they are active. She plays on 2 softball leagues. Obviously she doesn't eat perfect, but she's not eating fast food every single day like she was. She's been able to keep the weight off. I mean, at her heaviest, I think she was like at 240 when she usually sits at about 140. So she, 100 pounds heavier than what she normally was and just really hard on the joints. Yeah. And again, if you were just thinking of quality of life, she was tired. She was lethargic. She wasn't even 30 yet. And she had, that the movement of like an older person because of her health and because of the inflammation she had in her body. So she is so much more active now, just better quality of life, and things have changed for her. So if anything positive came from that experience, because I can't say that I would do reality again, it was that for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a huge feat. And it came from a place of love. Do you get what I'm saying? So like, It makes sense that the first season, it was so separate. If you just pair random people that have no connection versus would you do it for your sister is basically what they asked you. Like, would you gain 40 pounds, 50 pounds for your sister to then, go hand in hand and lose all of the weight?
Yeah.
It's awesome. I could see why you wouldn't necessarily do that again.
Yeah.
Because speaking of the metabolism and all of that stuff, but that's a really good experience. I will
tell you. Okay. So I was really shocked. So I was fully accepting of my body gaining weight. I think because I had gone through so much physically the years prior with my body, and I came to this place where I was like, I can do this. I think because I had a lot of confidence that I could lose the weight. And I had a really healthy relationship now with my body, with how I viewed myself, like not caring what people thought about my body as it was gaining weight or what I was looking like. But I will tell you, like I was at total acceptance with that. I mean, I'm not perfect, thoughts would creep in every now and then when I would like feel my stomach, but it was the mental piece. Like, and this just goes to show, and I think you're going to appreciate this. Like, okay, so we had frequent doctor visits. Every 4 weeks over the course of the 8 months, we would go in and get blood work and meet with the doctor and make sure everything was okay and all of those things. And some of the other contestants, there was one particular that had to drop out because his sodium levels were like insanely high that he had to drop out. But from the start to the beginning, so that total of from the start of the weight gain to that middle part, my estrogen and testosterone levels completely flip-flopped. So like, for anyone listening that deals with some of these things, and this is why, food and what we're eating is so important, but like I had like pretty normal estrogen levels, normal testosterone levels. They were even actually a little bit elevated testosterone. I felt really good. My metabolism was good. Like my body fat was low. Like I just felt good. And I wasn't dieting. I just had a healthy relationship and I just felt good. And so by the end of that 4 months, my estrogen was like through the roof, like super estrogenic. And my testosterone plummeted, like literally plummeted. And if you kind of saw where I put on most of the weight, it was like hips, like major hips, lower belly. But then what came with that, it was accompanied with some major depression, anxiety, very anxious all the time, like depressed. Like I had a really hard time, even just like when my eyes would open to get out of bed, like didn't want to get out of bed. My body hurt, super unmotivated. Like in the beginning, it was hard to like not move because you're like, Felicia, you need to like not move as much because I was moving all day. Like I did a lot of like non-exercise activity, and they're like, they could see it because I had this little thing that I had, this little like watch that they would monitor my movement. And they're like, Felicia, you need to, stop moving as much because your sister sits all day. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so hard. So in the beginning that was hard, but like halfway through, it was so easy because I was so unmotivated.
Yeah.
Like I became so unmotivated. And so if you think about the average person who doesn't really, have any sort of like fitness aspirations, or maybe no fitness background, or doesn't have the desire to do that, to even just get moving, is really hard. And so like when they gave me the green light to lose the weight, it took me like 2 weeks to finally say, okay, I'm ready, because I was eating McDonald's daily. And so when I was driving home after I would be at the gym, I had a gym called Fit Method at the time. I had to pull over to get like French fries and the meal at McDonald's. Like I needed to have it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't just stop. Like it was physically so hard. I had to continue eating it. And I was like, I kept telling myself, okay, just one more day. I know they gave me the green light, but I just need it one more time. Like, or I just need this. And it's like, it became like this, like you get kind of addicted to it, right? Addicted to like the preservatives and the sodium. And then even the movement part, like I just wanted to sit at home and watch Netflix. Like I did not want to move. And the thought of moving just sounded so hard, and my body hurt and the workouts hurt. And so I can imagine when you feel like a prisoner in your body, and that you have to move our body in order to like start the start the process.
Yeah.
It can feel like a huge feat. And so, and this is coming from someone with a fitness background. So, and I was able to get in shape again, obviously, and like lose the weight for the show and like still, feel good. But it was difficult at first, and I have a background with exercise ever since I was a young age. So just imagine someone who doesn't. And so that's why it's so important to like, find something that you love, but like start with the baby steps, because I know that it can feel such a huge feat.
So my question is, because part of that Fit to Fat to Fit is like that you get that experience so that it makes you a better personal trainer, so that you understand what it's like. Do you feel like that made you a better personal trainer moving forward, because you're able to know, hey, I've been there. I wanted to sit, and here's how I started, and here's how you can too?
Absolutely. Oh, for sure. It's one of the main reasons why I started the Diet Dropout, because it was like this, it was like this aha moment. And I knew it because I had gone through like personal stuff, but it was like this aha moment that it's not easy, and that habits are so important in your life. Behavioral change is so important. And it's more than just, here's a meal plan, here are your workouts, have at it. Because let's be honest, anyone can go online right now and Google how to lose 10 pounds and whatever, and the best workouts for your lower body, and you can get them for free right online.
Yeah.
And so, but we still are suffering with an obesity issue in America. So it is behavioral changes and habits that we really need to focus on and emphasize for people to truly make a change in their life.
So you absolutely nail on the head on the nail. I always mix up things, but there is way more health and fitness information that people have access to on a regular basis. YouTube, that doesn't include all the fitness apps, the Pelotons, the personal trainers that are out there putting out their content as well. Yet we are the biggest we've ever been as a nation. So when it comes to making those habits, is there anything any tips that you gave your clients on places where they could start?
That's such a good question. Well, first, identifying the behavior. So, I think we're really hard on ourselves as people, telling yourself, well, I'm going to start the workout, or I'm going to start this, but we set our sights really high. So I feel like most people set their expectations really high. And so if we can just be able to adjust our expectations to meet us where we're at, and that truly starts with small incremental steps. And the things that I start out even with, my fitness clients is, 3 non-negotiables. What are those non-negotiables that we're going to commit to? It's like the promises, commitments, I should say, that we keep to ourselves. And those can be something so simple. I also love to habit stack, if you know that you've been wanting to take supplements daily, but you're like, oh, I just keep forgetting to take the supplements. I keep forgetting to take the vitamin D or the probiotic or whatever it is that you need, habit stacking it to something that you're already doing each and every day can be really, really helpful because it can make it feel not so overwhelming. Setting your environment up to make it as easy as possible to get started. So if you're working out at home, a lot of people put their treadmill or their workout stuff, in a closet or out of sight, but like it would probably behoove you to like have it in front of you and have it there in your living room so that you're like, hey, I can do this while I watch TV, right? So adjusting your expectations for where you are in your life can be such a huge difference because that's where people are usually let down. They set their expectations so high. They want to lose the weight really quickly. We want the quick fix versus these small incremental changes. And I would suggest adjusting those every 30 days, depending on how you're doing. And I love journaling. So I have this 5-minute journal here that I love that I write in every single day.
Yeah.
And it also helps me really stay on track for and not feel so overwhelmed. So
yeah. The small changes are the best kinds of changes because they're not extreme. Extremes you can typically only manage for so long to overhaul your entire life. But to make those non-negotiables, I'm going to drink enough water today. I'm going to move at least 20 minutes daily. And move doesn't necessarily mean a HIIT workout or go weightlifting. Move could just be, I'll go on a hike. I'll ride my bike. Like, what are things that you enjoy? And then let's work backwards. Cause I feel like people get stuck like, well, Felicia does HIIT, so I have to do HIIT. Or like this fitness influencer does CrossFit. So like I have to do CrossFit. And it's like, well, depending on your physique goals, there are certain exercises that will get you there. But if you're just trying to be overall healthy, I just need you to move 20 minutes every day. The more you move, the more you see those benefits, the more that you're going to even be willing to do some of those other things.
For sure. Yes, absolutely. And I like to call them commitments because we want to keep commitments to ourselves. It's like we and us as people, let's say you had a friend, you're going to meet them somewhere, you're less likely to cancel on them, but you're more likely to cancel on yourself. Right. So if you can keep those commitments to yourself, and the thing is like a lot of self-awareness has to come in. And if you were to really visualize yourself, like visualize where you want to be 6 months from now or a year from now. And what is he or she doing? What kind of habits have they adopted and how are they showing up in the world? And take a look at where you are now. Are you doing those things that your higher self would be doing?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, then it's time to reevaluate some of those habits. And so, we can start with just having those really honest, reflections in ourselves in what is it that we really want? And what do I have to do to get there?
Yeah. And pulling back into the mental stuff, addressing any mental blocks or habits sometimes does take additional help. So going to therapy to realize why you do what you do matters, because if you're binging every night and you can't seem to stop, oftentimes there's a reason and it's beyond your self-control. You have the self-control. There's something there that needs to be addressed. And so if you are trying to make it a lifestyle and you are trying to overhaul everything, making sure you clue into yourself is huge. Just with breaking down those barriers that were there, because why do you feel like, okay, if it was a job, for instance, you show up for your job every day, you do your job, like you've made a commitment and you're keeping it, but why don't you keep that commitment to yourself? Is it tied to your self-worth? Do you think you don't deserve to look a certain way? Is it that you have sexual trauma and the last time you looked that way, you were taken advantage of? And so this is your coat of armor to protect you from other people. Like all of those things that people tend to think, well, I just want to be skinny. It's like, why? And what is stopping you? Because there's plenty of opportunity, we just said, for you to get all the information that you need. It's a lot easier if you work with a coach or a trainer because you have that built-in accountability, but you still have to do the work. Me hiring you is not enough because you can tell me all the things till I'm blue in the face. Why am I not willing to love myself enough to do those things? So
that is so important. And I'll be completely honest. I saw a counselor during that time and I still do on and off. I've been seeing a counselor now since 2012. And I had, when I was a kid, when my parents were going through a divorce, but yeah, I mean, that was so incremental to understand, like, why am I binge eating? Like, what is it, and what is causing this? What is triggering this? Where else is it coming from? Because I will tell you, and like you mentioned, it's so much more than the food.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
true. So if someone is, women, we have many changes and shifts in our life, as we talked about earlier, whether that be, starting at the age of 11, 12, 13, having a period, and then moving into motherhood, and postpartum is a phase, and perimenopause and menopause. And a lot of times in these phases, along with it come either weight gain or inability to lose weight. So you have, speaking from your experience with clients, how do you shift the plateaus? Because they're natural and they are normal, but oftentimes people get really, really frustrated. Number one, sometimes the expectations are way too high, right? If you're 54, you can have a great body. You can't have your 25-year-old body.
Yeah, right. Yeah, things change, and just to be in total acceptance of that, I think is a good thing. But yes, you can still have a banging body at any age, right? Yes.
Yeah. So are there any tips, I guess, you could give in those hormonal plateaus or those waves where you found that it's really helped your clients push through those kind of moments?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can definitely speak to the hormonal shifts, getting older, and then the thyroid issues that I've had. And I will tell you, for those that are listening right now, more isn't always better. Okay. And less food isn't always the best either, or usually isn't the best. And so something that I've learned, especially as now I just turned 39 and then having years of battling thyroid, it's like you almost feel like you are a hamster on a hamster wheel and you're not getting anywhere. You feel like you're eating perfectly, you're doing all the workouts and nothing's changing. So I will say, if you are dealing with those sorts of things, absolutely see a doctor like Dr. Moore here, and like figure out all your blood work and figure that out to see kind of like where you might be lacking and where things might be kind of amiss. But when it comes to like your workouts, I mentioned it earlier, more is not better. So if you do have thyroid issues, you're having hormonal issues, and you are doing constant like HIIT workouts. And I've had clients who are literally doing Orange Theory 5 days a week. And I'm like, let's cut back on that. Let's cut it back to maybe once a week, twice a week. And then let's go ahead and introduce some low impact movement. Definitely love the strength training for women because it does give you a metabolic boost. I'm all about metabolic boosting exercises, but I'm not about running your body into the ground. So when I was healing myself, I found that the lower impact, me being in my fat burning zones. So for me, that's anywhere from like 115 to 130, keeping my heart rate in those levels was better for me. I've also found my sweet spot. I don't work out every day, but I do move every day. Now, when I say workout, like a traditional gym, fitness class type workout, and that's my sweet spot's about 4 days a week. So for most clients and most women, I want you to just accept the fact that we might need to slow down before we speed up. Okay. So slowing your life down, managing your stress. And I think it will be a positive thing if you were to also look at other things in your life besides, I need to eat better and I need to work out more. How are you sleeping? How is your stress? Where are those things in your life that you may be lacking? And a lot of times, and I will say, and I still say this, sleep has been the number one thing for me that has drastically changed my body, my mind, my health. I used to just thrive off of, I only get 4 hours a night. Like I am just a go-getter. I get up early and I do this and I do that. But I will tell you, in my late 30s, 39, almost 40 next year, compared to my 29-year-old self, I not only look better, I feel better, my skin is better, my mind is better, and I have a better handle on stress and stress management. So, and sleep was a huge factor in that. There are so many studies on sleep in terms of, and I'm sure you know it, decreasing your chance of getting like dementia and Alzheimer's, helps with brain cognition, helps, your hormones, like all the things. So, if you are struggling right now, like I said, more isn't always better. Take it back a notch and then analyze the other things going on in your life.
Yeah. So I actually did an episode on sleep last week. I'll link it in the
Ooh,
cards, or I'll
I'll
link
have to
it
listen
below
to
in the
that.
show notes.
I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah, I'll have to listen to that.
And I talked about how sleep is a time for ghrelin, our hunger cue, and leptin, our satiety cue, to really balance out, but it can make you hungrier if your sleep is off, right? It affects
Mhm.
those hormonal controls to your weight and how you eat the next day, which when you are eating, you're not thinking that it's being controlled by hormones, but it absolutely is. And then
Mhm.
stress is stress. Wow. The amount of times I have to tell women who want to lose weight that we have to address these other things. We can't just focus on diet and movement. We have to look at what your stress is. If you are a 10 out of 10 stress and you are now also doing Orange Theory 5 times a week, you are going to start having hormonal implications. And I'm
Mhm.
speaking from experience. I was a resident, I was planning a wedding, and I was deciding what I wanted to do post residency. And it was a lot and it was very stressful.
Mhm.
Residents are on call, right? So like I could never turn it off. And
Mhm.
I started doing Orange Theory because, like most brides, you want to get in shape for your wedding. So I started off with like 3 times a week, then bumped it up to 4. And it felt so good doing it, right? You're getting all of those like hormone boosts. But what I started to notice was my periods started getting closer and closer together. And I
Mhm.
had my hormones tested and my progesterone was low, which whenever we're in times of stress, we will shunt progesterone to cortisol to help those adrenals deal with stress. And so I noticed it and I was like, oh, wow, like the Orange Theory workouts on
Yeah.
top of my other stress. So I've started
Mhm.
working out again, but I'm like, I love HIIT. I love how it makes me feel. I love the mental benefit. I have a max 2 times a week. And most of the
Mhm.
time, if a patient comes to me and they're like, okay, I've been doing this, I've been doing everything I can, and I've been doing 5 HIIT workouts, I'm always like, you can do 3 max. Not that
Mhm.
you can't move the other days. I just
Yeah.
need you to sub in other things, weight
Yeah.
training, low impact, Pilates,
Yoga,
yoga, like
bodies. Yeah.
dance. What do you like?
Mhm.
Like we have to mix it up. You cannot be
Yeah.
doing that because you're already stressed to the max.
For sure. And I don't know if you experience this with your clients or yeah, your patients, but I get some women that are like, I don't feel stressed though, And so
Yes.
like a lot of women, especially, high functioning women who are doing a lot of things tend to their stress thermostat changes over time. And so like where their stress increases. And as a society, we just learn to like push through, right? We just push through, we keep going and push through. And so their stress thermostat increases. And so when you actually really take a look, they're rushing everywhere. There's deadlines, they're doing all of these things. There's no time for just that rest and relaxation. But they don't feel stressed, right? And so
Yes.
I get a lot of women are like, Felicia, well, I don't feel stressed. I'm like, let's just take a look at your day. And so, allotting time for downtime,
Mhm.
even if it's just binge watching a Netflix episode. I've been into this show called Working Moms, which is amazing, and they're 30
Yes.
minutes long. And so like I can binge watch a couple and not feel like, like I totally took my day over.
Yeah.
But like taking time and whatever that is for you, I know we've thrown around the word like meditation and breath work and all of that, but even if that is hard for you, just allotting time in your day for like buffer time for you
Yes.
to like rest and reset, listen to a podcast, write in a journal, go on a like leisurely walk, whatever that may be, in order to just bring you back down. And I know we talked about, sympathetic versus parasympathetic on the podcast when you were on, but it's like really putting you back into that parasympathetic state, because for us as women, especially like high functioning women, we just get used to that high adrenaline feeling all day.
Yep.
And so we don't know anything different, right? And so I want to also remind women that who are listening right now, men and women who might just are like, well, I'm not really stressed, but, take an audit of your day and time and like, how are you spending it?
So happens all the time. I'll have patients literally give me a laundry list of work, home, like family, life, all of these things. And then I'm like, so what's your stress scale 1 to 10? And they're like, I don't know, like a 4. I'm just like, 10 is the most. They're like, yeah, it's like I don't know, maybe a 5. And I'm like, but you have all of these things going on. Like you're just not clued in. So a few weeks ago, which again, I'll put this episode in the card and in the show notes, I talked to a therapist named Julie Espinoza. She's actually based in Arizona. Yes, she's great. And we talked about completing the stress cycle. And we talked about cluing in. So one of the tips she gave was paying attention to the breath, because oftentimes the breath can be a good clue as to whether or not we're stressed, because people do have a really hard time identifying it because it means different things to everyone. To some people, stress is anxiety, and those things are interchangeable. Some are a feeling of overwhelm. A lot of women are cornerstones of their family, right? You're not only getting the bacon, you're coming home, you're cooking it, you're cleaning up after yourself, and you're still putting the kids to bed.
Yep.
And so you're used to just pushing through. So you're like, yeah, but I don't know. It's not really that big of a deal. I still get everything I have to get done. And it's like, yes, but how are you getting it done? Are you dragging? Yes. Are you having to stop? Are you noticing that your heart rate is elevated? And Apple Watch is a great tool for that because it shows that heart rate variability throughout the day. What is your breath doing? Do you find yourself holding your breath? Or is your heart rate higher than it should be? So physical symptoms, she said, are a really good way to clue in to how you're feeling. And then she talked about the same thing, being in the present moment, even to the extent of, she was like, yeah, I'll get on TikTok, and TikTok's a great algorithm. And I just have all of these things. I'll laugh, I'll cry, I'm like, learn stuff. And I always thought of social media as a distraction. And I think that's because how other people told me, like, oh, you're distracting yourself so you don't think about it. And it can be, but she says you just be intentional at what you're watching and what you're feeling. And so the other day I was scrolling and I saw something really sad. And I just was like, okay, I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to watch this and I'm going to feel those feelings and I'm going to be in that moment. So it wasn't something that happened to me where it was like someone made me cry. It was me reacting to something and then saying, all right, I'm going to use this as to complete that stress cycle. I'm going to use that as my emotional release. I might see something funny.
I love that.
I think back to her being like, be intentional, like see something funny and then clue in like, oh, wow, this is really funny. I'm really enjoying myself. I'm happy, and laugh as a release.
I love that. I oftentimes, to be completely honest, I'll listen to certain songs because I know it will evoke a certain emotion.
Yep.
Especially if I'm feeling like it, when it feels like so good to cry. Yep. Right. I also want to tell your audience, and this goes true. And this is, again, I think just coming to some of the conversations I've had with like moms who are working moms or, stay-at-home moms or whatever it may be. And so, or just families in general. So, when they're like, oh, I don't really feel stressed. And, and you kind of take a look at their day. So just think of like a woman and her normal, like quote unquote duties, right? She's, doing the grocery shopping, she's putting it away, she's doing the cooking, she's probably doing the laundry and putting it away. She's, sending out the invitation, she's sending the thank you cards. She's pretty much in charge of getting the kids ready for school and getting the kids into bed. And so like, if you can kind of take a little bit of the load off, and this is just going to come with communication with your husband, right? So like, maybe your husband puts the dishes away and you cook and vice versa, and I think those are just going to conversations that you're going to have with your partner or whatever, whatever partner you may have. And so that may help also to kind of lighten the load and lighten the feelings of just like, you got to do all these things. Right. And so those have always been really helpful too in conversations that I've had with women in terms of just, kind of easing up their day a little bit.
Well, because you're supposed to be the perfect mom or the perfect wife. That looks like, Mrs. Cleaver, who's, doing all the things, but now has work on top of that. And so in order to be perfect, you feel like you can't ask for help. Yeah. And so now I'm like, you have to.
That's the whole point. That's why I wanted to say that, because as women, we are like immune to asking for help.
We're like programmed to not do it because it means we failed.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, no, this is just and this is going to help you. This is going to help you like feel better and help lighten your day a little bit and just help you feel like you don't have to do it all. And it's just simple conversations, which I'm sure your partner will be 100% on board with.
And oftentimes they are, and they'll say, oh, I didn't know you felt that way. I thought you were okay doing everything. You never told me. So communicating and setting that up, it also makes you more successful when we talk about transitioning to a healthy lifestyle, right? Yeah, if your partner's on board and they know like, okay, your love language used to be food. So I used to bring you home cheesecake, right? Every single day I bring you home a cheesecake. They still want to show that love. And it's letting them know like, hey, I'm really trying to be healthy. And the cheesecake right now is an Achilles heel for me, or I don't really want it. And you keep bringing it. Is there another way that we can do that? Can we go for a walk together and just talk about our day, or go for a bike ride and just change those habits together? because that support system, you will be so much more successful in the goals that you have if your partner is on board than if you feel like you're on an island, not only with taking care of the house and the kids and work, but also with being the healthy one and always feeling like you're having to lead and he's wanting to eat a cheeseburger. And if you eat a salad, he's kind of poking at you and making fun. He doesn't realize how serious you are and how much that hurts you. So you have
100%.
to communicate.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Oh my gosh, I have such a funny story. So that reminded me, like when we were filming Fit to Fat to Fit, during the fit portion, when we were both losing weight and I was losing weight, my sister was losing weight. We actually I moved my sister into my house because it was easy for me to like manage the food and all of the things that we were going through together. And so like her and her boyfriend both moved in with me. And he was so supportive. Now she's been with her boyfriend for like 7+ years now, a long time. And so he was so supportive and he's like, I'm doing this with you. Okay, I'm going to do this together. I'm giving up, fast food and we're going to do this. And so I remember one time they had gotten into his car and they were getting ready to leave and he left some evidence in the back seat of Wendy's. And she found the bags of Wendy's that he was probably eating in his lunch period.
Yeah.
And she flipped out. I've never seen someone see red, and she saw red and she was like, you're getting Wendy's without me. And I thought we were in this together. And he's like, babe, well, I didn't eat it in front of you.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't care. I don't want you eating it at all. Like you're supposed to be supportive. And it was like this really emotional time for her. But that reminds me of a time where he was literally like hiding it and he like forgot to throw it away or ate in his car on the way home, or I don't know, who knows. But she found the evidence. So
and you're like, he was still super supportive by not tempting her, being like, hey, I'm going to Wendy's. You want to right? It was
right. But he's like hiding everything.
But I see how you could be like, how dare you? I thought you were suffering.
It was so funny.
And
so funny. And it's still like such a like prominent story in my head. I can like see her face now. It's so funny.
I feel like we could talk about this forever. Seriously.
I know, for sure.
Okay. So what I want to end on is I want to know about the app that's coming out, and you also have a supplement line coming out soon.
Yeah. I'm so excited. So have a supplement line I'm coming out with. I've been working on this for about a year, since last August, and I'm so excited about it. I'm actually coming out with 3 products to start. We'll see how those go, but the products are really based on like what I've been through in my life. And for me, gut health was so important. Gut is your, first brain. It literally has so much to do with your mental health. And so a really awesome probiotic, and the supplement line is called Luna True Nutrition. So coming out with a probiotic to support, immunity and gut health, coming out with a stress relief formula called Chill Out. And it has, all the B vitamins, ashwagandha, rhodiola, like all the things to just really help to manage stress and aid in stress management. And then BCAs, branched chain amino acids. You can get them from food, but what I really wanted to do is just to empower women to, feel okay and feel good with building lean muscle. And it's something that you can obviously take before your workout. And then that's coming out in conjunction with my fitness app. And it's really empowered, proactive movement. And with this, I'm really targeting women over the age of 35, just because, I'm going to be 40 next year. So I would love for women to join me on my journey to 40 and take back their power in their body and in their life. And that really for me, that's with movement. Yeah. So that comes out probably in about a month from now. I'm not sure when this is coming out. So probably in August. And I'm really excited.
Oh, I am awesome. I'm awesome. I'm excited.
And actually the program is called 40-20 Feel Awesome.
Oh.
So it's called 40-20. It's 40, a couple days a week, 2 or 3 days a week, 40-minute workouts that are full body resistance and body weight workouts that are really kind of the sweet spot that I found. And then 1 to 2 days a week of HIIT, 15 to 20 minutes, but I do have a warm up in there. And it's really basically like my belief in terms of my philosophy when it comes to movement. And I'm so excited. So
that is awesome.
Yeah.
So where can people find out more about those things when they launch, and about you and Diet Dropout?
Yeah. Well, they can just, they can go to my Instagram at Felicia Romero. All the information is going to be there. I have like a link tree in my bio where you can see all the information. My podcast, the Diet Dropout podcast, which I am going to be rebranding, and also my supplement line, Luna True Nutrition. So yeah, you can just, come visit me at Felicia Romero, and all the information. I'm so accessible. Like, I'm literally on every platform. So you can get a hold of me very easily. Yeah. So yeah.
And you give a lot of really good information on your Instagram, whether that be
Thank
for
you.
other wellness entrepreneurs or from the perspective of potential clients, just learning more about their bodies. You're really, the way I thought of it when I was doing the research for this episode is your fitness coming from a place of love, right?
Oh,
you're like
yes.
fitness coming from a place of love and self-acceptance and doing what feels best and will be best for your health in the long run, instead of a place of like fitness for deprecation or fitness to fit a certain mold. But that's what came to mind when I thought of you. I was like, that's really her tagline.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you again for being a guest on the podcast. I will put all of Felicia's information down below for you guys to access it. Please follow her on Instagram. Go to the Diet Dropout podcast. I was a guest a while ago, had a great time. I'll link that episode down below as well, but be sure to subscribe as well as rate and review her podcast as well. Do the same thing here. These videos are both, the videos are on YouTube and the audio is wherever you get your podcasts. And I love just the support from the community with what we've been doing here lately. So thank you again, Felicia, for joining me.
Thank you. This has been so much fun. And yes, go give Dr. Moore a review.
Yes, please do. And we will see you later on social media. And I will see you next week for the next episode of the Pretty Healthy Podcast. Bye, guys.